Hi everybody, happy Saturday. Welcome back to Book Review, Chapter 3 of Lady C's book, Harry and Meghan, The True Story. So this book is well over, I think it's 407 pages long, and Chapter 3 was like 45 pages. So let's get into it, and we're going to start with a little bit about Meghan. Let me go ahead and get to the disclaimer real quick. Full disclaimer can be found in the below in the description. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and share if you enjoy the video. And don't forget to subscribe. Okay, here we go. And forgive me if you can hear me turning pages. According to one of Meghan's childhood friends who wishes to remain anonymous, she is extremely seductive when she targets people she wants to impress. Doesn't matter whether it's a man or a woman. Excuse me. If Meg wants to suck you into her orbit, she pulls out all the stops. She learned a long time ago that flattery works, especially if it's dished out with lashings of, along with the lines, "You're so marvelous, everything you do is great. I want nothing from you except to admire you." She's wonderfully spontaneous. No one is more enthusiastic, especially when she wants to ensnare a man. She envelops him in a mimesa of adoration. She makes out that his every mundane action is a unique gift to humanity. Few people and even fewer men can resist an onslaught of such positivity from someone as appealing as Meghan. This makes her very seductive. Men don't want to resist the outpouring, and because she seems so sincere, they end up hooked on her. Okay. Meghan has tremendous charm, apparent vulnerability, sweetness, and personability. She has a great deal of sex appeal, most of which she innates from her personality and those big brown eyes, which beam with delight when she wants to bedazzle. She is also highly intelligent and excellent company. Above all, however, she is self-confident. By her own account, she found leaving Trevor behind an empowering experience. Once she shed that skin and discovered how strengthening it was to be liberated from many of the anxieties and insecurities that she had suffered from previously, she became a far more potent and powerful person than she had ever been. She knows her power and she enjoys wielding it. Someone who knows her well told Lady C this. Meghan believed that once she got her foot in through the Vitello door, the establishment was hers for the taking, and so she proved it. Before long, Cory had moved into a 3-bedroom house at 10 Yarmouth Road in Seaton Village, where Meghan had replicated the stylish pale colors, modern paintings, and contemporary furniture of the cozy yellow-painted Marshall home that she had shared off Sunset Boulevard with Trevor. Meghan's quiet lifestyle lasted until Harry came on the scene. Only then did she start to entertain, having dinners, throwing large parties, and generally having a social buzz going that was actually uncharacteristic of the way that Meghan normally functioned. In reality, Meghan was a homebody, and she loved nothing else than hunkering down with her man when they were not out on the town partying. Her main company on a day-to-day basis were her 2 rescue dogs from L.A., Guy the Beagle and Bogart the Labrador, and Alsatian Cross, and ironically enough, her blog, to which she dedicated so many hours that it was like a living companion. So, dating Cory. Not everyone, however, had a rosy view of Meghan as she was ascending the greasy pole. The social columnist, Cheyenne Giovanni, regarded her as just a cable actress who didn't mean much when she met Cory Vitello. He, on the other hand, was a huge star locally. He was known by everyone and well-liked too. Within the confines of the city, being with him was definitely a useful platform for her. He was much bigger in terms of the establishment in Toronto. He was leverage for her. He was also friends with people like the Maronis and Marcus Anderson, global membership director of the elite private club Soho House, which had a branch in Toronto. Although Meghan's path had crossed theirs, she now became close friends with all of them. Their home, Soho House, became like her second home. Giovanni believed if she had never come to Toronto, that she would never have married Prince Harry. There was something about coming to Toronto, becoming friends with the Mulroneys, and see, this shows that the Mulroneys weren't using her, but she was using them. And having a high social cachet, it was the perfect storm that created the opportunity. Giovanni thought that there was an element of deliberateness about the way Meghan advanced herself socially, and that she took advantage of the opportunity that came her way. He also felt that she wasn't content with just being an actress. I mean, what would happen after Suits? We all know that was ending for her. She wasn't getting any younger. Through Cory, Meghan's star ascended exponentially. Not only were they a glamorous couple who functioned in the most elevated circles, but the power of the two and the connection she made through him allowed her to spread her wings in a way that a cable show like Suits could never have done. While Cory was vital to Meghan's progress, it would be a mistake to ignore the role her effort and ambition played in her growing success. The TIG was her creation. It was, in some ways, her baby as well as her platform, and it was proven invaluable in raising her profile while giving her gravitas and access that she would otherwise not have had. In Canada, Meghan had been discovering that being biracial was more advantageous than it had been in the U.S. Canadians are much more relaxed about issues like race status than the Americans, and aside from using her race in a way she had never done before. She began using her sex through the blog to branch out in areas where race, gender, activism could be utilized positively. Meghan was on a mission, and the mission was to thrive rather than survive. She would use everything that she had to make her life better and richer, and she would flourish. Having put her charm and networking skills to good use and acquired a reputation for brightness and cooperativeness, the following year, Meghan was back in the UN. This time giving a speech before the Secretary General of the UN to a packed house in the United Nations Women's Advocate for Political Participation and Leadership. For 9.5 minutes, she spoke eloquently, engagingly, and movingly about the airing of the now infamous Ivory dishwashing liquid commercial, telling how it set her on her path of a feminist activism. Her speech was a tour de force, which garnered her much respect in the political circles in which she now moved. It reinforced her aim of being taken seriously, not only as an influencer through her blog, but as a political activist. To the Suits audience, she might have been merely Rachel Zane, the ball breaker who couldn't pass her law exams, but nevertheless had the legal practice and Mike Ross eating out of her hand. But to the Mulroneys and the Trudeaus, who were the audience she really wanted to impress, she was growing into a heavy hitter whose humanitarian credentials established her as worthy of their attention and friendships. Despite the spectacular way her public profile was progressing, Meghan's need to be noticed was beginning to affect her relationship with Cory. Although Cory has always been careful to only say positive things about his ex-girlfriend, and friends of theirs who did not wish to be identified said she was extraordinarily pushy beneath the soft and sweet exterior. She was always angling for the best table in a restaurant, wanting to sit in the best seat, reminding everyone, not so subtly, that she was this huge star when she really wasn't. It was just embarrassing. Cory's not that sort of guy, and I think after a while it began to get on his nerves, and he started to lose respect for her. Although Meghan could be very loving, she was so impassioned that she sometimes came across as a prima donna. Friends believed that Cory had become increasingly disenchanted as a result of that aspect of her conduct. But what it did for him was when she what did it for him was when she started snatching credit from him for recipes that Cory had created. Meghan's a good cook, but she's also extremely vain and always wants praise. One of Viatello's circles said she and Cory had hosted a dinner party at which she had served pasta graugette spirals. Upon being complimented on the dish, Meghan tried to take credit for its invention. However, it was Cory's creation, and this pissed him off royally. No matter how loving you are, once your boyfriend realizes you're a phony, that's it. Someone who liked him someone who liked him, but had never liked her, said. All right. Shortly after the incident, Meghan left England to watch her friend Serena Williams play tennis in Wilmington. One of the attributes of her friends find her endearing is her willingness to cross the world to support their efforts. Okay, then it goes on to say, Meghan's relationship with Serena would prove to be pivotal in more ways than one. Aside from the fact that she would never have met Harry had she not gone to watch her friend play at Wimbledon, it was the tennis star whose dexterous use of the media inspired her to develop the TIG in the way that she did, and even more importantly, whose presence in her life helped Meghan overcome the hurdles that she had faced all her life concerning her racial identity. Had Meghan not become as friendly with Serena as she did, had she not seen how positive an advantage being a woman of color could be, and embraced her African American identity the way Serena did, she might well have continued sitting on the fence the way she had done all of her life. So, it was unfortunate that Meghan had finally made the leap from the areas of uncertainty, which she characterized as grayness, to embracing her biracial identity. For this would prove to be yet another of the pivots which saw her make an even more important leap from actress on a cable television show to member of the British royal family. So there is no doubt that as to whether the relationship between Cory and Meghan had actually ended before Meghan met Prince Harry, although Meghan could later claim it had. Cory had refused to be drawn, which leads one to suspect that it had not. Overlap or not, it was definitely limping to an end if Meghan was fortunate enough to replace one handsome and celebrated Adonis with an even more famous and important hunk. She would have been crazy not to seize the moment. Okay, Harry back with Chelsea Davy. Chelsea Davy is a very attractive girl and bouncy, as I can attest, having met her at polo. She's bright, sociable. Harry joined her and a group of her friends for a night out at a nightclub called Rhodes House, and the evening went so swimmingly that they ended up spending most of their time on the dance floor, entwined in passionate embraces. It was the beginning of a romance that would last on and off for 7 years. They had much in common. Both were fearless physically. She was a superb horsewoman who could ride bareback and had been known for wring the life out of a snake with her bare hands. Both she and Harry loved Africa, whether it was going on safari in Botswana or just chilling at her home on her family's properties. Her father, Charles Davy, was one of the largest white landowners in Zimbabwe, with properties covering 800,000 acres, while her mother, Beverly Nee Donnell, had been Miss Rhodesia in 1973. Okay, Harry admitted that she, Chelsea, was his first true love. The publicly proved an unwelcome pressure on the relationship. Of course, the press can never get enough of a good romance, and once Harry turned 21 and gave the customary interview to mark the occasion, he was indulged into commenting, "I would love to tell everyone how amazing she is, but you know that is my private life, and once I start talking about it, then I've left my own self open, and if anyone asks me in the future, they'll say, oh, well, hang on, you told them about what you aren't telling us. You told them, but you're not telling us." This was just enough to satisfy the newspapers, whose absorbing interest in the Harry and Chelsea affair seemed never-ending. In 2006, while Harry entered Sandhurst, completed his officer training course before being commissioned into the Blues and Royals, although royal protocol deemed it inappropriate for her to be in attendance at his graduation ceremony, Chelsea flew in for the graduation ball. Although Harry would ultimately not be sent to Iraq because his presence would provide a magnet for insurgents, endangering the lives of the other men, he was sent instead to Afghanistan for 2 separate tours of duty. This gained him respect of the public in a way nothing else had ever done before. If Chelsea was prepared to cut Harry slack where his drinking was concerned, she was not so willing to overlook what she regarded as being taken for granted. When Harry chose to attend the Rugby World Cup final in Paris rather than be with her for her 22nd birthday, she dumped him. Says for the next 2 years, Harry and Chelsea's relationship was on and off again. There was genuine affection there, but their youthfulness and Harry's career in the army meant that she had to endure the same sacrifices that other army wives and girlfriends do, all while running the gauntlet with the press, who followed her every move. by this time of William's marriage to Catherine Middleton on the 29th of April, 2011, their status remained unresolved, yet the trust between them was so strong that Chelsea not only helped Harry to write his best man speech, but was also his +1 for the wedding and the events following. Now here comes Cressida. In 2012, Harry and Chelsea were definitely headed in opposite directions. Princess Eugenie knew that her first cousin wanted a girlfriend, and that her good friend Cressida Bonus had recently split up with her boyfriend, Harry Wentworth Stanley, which they've just recently gotten married now. They had been an item at University of Leeds, but now Wentworth Stanley took off for his gap year on his own. The relationship came to an end, so Eugenie introduced them, and Harry and Cressida hit it off. Okay? In many ways, Harry and Cressida seem ideally suited. There was a good match not only physically, but in terms of background, but also in terms of interest and outlook. The word in aristocratic circles was that Mary Gay was keener on her daughter marrying into the royal family than Cressida was. But since Cressida and Harry seemed to get along so well, they seemed matched and so good together, everyone crossed his or her fingers and hoped that there would be no slips between the cup and the lip. The breakup in 2014. Cressida was ready for the shade. She and Harry parted on amicable terms, just as he had with Chelsea. Both women would be asked to his wedding. She then quietly returned to her previous boyfriend, Harry Wentworth Stanley. Then it goes on. Let's see, that's a little bit more about her, but we don't need to see that. Other highlighted areas. In March 2015, the palace announced that Harry would leave the army in June. The constraints that he had to endure would help him in his personal life, should he find himself a girlfriend or wife. Whether the lack of structure he would have to cope with in civilian life would be beneficial to him personally was another matter. All his life, Harry had needed to be kept occupied. He had flourished in the army because he was the sort of personality which needed structure to bring out the best in him. Even as a little boy, he used to beg Ken Wharf, which was his mother's private security, to give him assignments. He had leadership ability on the median rank, was also good at taking orders, had energy and courage, and he loved being surrounded by the men and mucking them with them. He was the perfect army man, but he did not possess the inner spark or self-discipline that enables people to flourish in an unstructured environment. To further complicate matters, Harry was headstrong and had been brought up by Diana, and to a lesser extent his father, to overestimate his importance in the scheme of things. It was inevitable that he would suffer the fate of Prince Andrew, who had started out as second in line to the throne and found himself being pushed further and further down the table of succession with the birth of each child from William and Kate. There was no doubt that Harry had the internal resources to realize his full potential without the clear boundaries that an institution like the Army provided, but the enthusiasm with which he embraced royal projects and civilian life heartened observers. In contrast to his public life, though, privately, Harry struggled to find a girl who wanted to take him on full-time. No one wanted the job. Although he was a nice enough guy and undoubtedly physically appealing, with a robust athleticism of a fit soldier, he had emotional problems. He was often unjustifiably angry. I know of one instance when he tried to attack a contemporary of his father's for no reason at all. He was dragged off by his protection officers and is only lucky that nothing was made of the incident. He could be curlish and place many demands on those closest to him. He could be overly clingy while being out of touch with his emotions. He seemed to believe that his troubles all stemmed from his mother's death, but people who knew the family well, they disagreed. Relations of his tell me that he was always going to be trouble because Diana simply refused to provide the consequences. Although Diana scolded him, she did not punish him, and Harry rode off without contrition or consequences. It was no secret in aristocratic circles that he desperately wanted to marry and start his own family. Indeed, Harry's quest for love had become almost pathetic. He would ask friends to set him up with girls who were well-bred and attractive, and to ensure that they wanted him for himself and not for his name and rank, the very things, ironically, that turned off most well-bred girls. He would pretend to be someone else. Now, he would go in. Of course, everybody in the world knows who he is, but he would pretend to be somebody else. He even did this with a friend of Lady C's. Then Harry met Meghan. As stated earlier, Meghan had flown to London to watch Serena Williams play tennis at Wilmington. Okay, then and what happened was, let's see, this trip would be pivotal, and the way it came about gives real insight into how Meghan has scaled the heights she has. Nearly 2 years before, she had acquired a powerful British manager named Gina Nelthorpe Crown, who had been upping her profile and getting her assignments while making connections Meghan would never have been able to make on her own, because Meghan would never have met Harry without Nelthorpe Crown's assistance. And the business manager is one of the few people who were witness to what actually happened. Her input is vital, not the least of which being that her outstanding success in her chosen field indicates that she is an authority on the traits that make the success or failure of people in public life. The two women met in Ottawa in 2014. Kruger Crown Talent Management Company was in the city to promote One Young World Summit, a conference for 18 to 30-year-olds, and opened by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, with such stars as Emma Watson and Cher in attendance. Meghan was Meghan was there, but not only as a successful, if still minor actress, but she was also the founder of the TIG. On the blog, she wrote about how she had come to be a counselor and how One Young World invites young adults all over the world who are actively working to transform the social political landscape by the greater good. The two women had spoken on the phone and emailed each other a number of times before meeting in person. So, Meghan, whom she first met when she showed up at a hotel room in Ottawa that Meghan was sharing with Cory Viatella, the chef, for the duration of her stay. I could immediately tell she was special, that she had star quality. I'd been in the business for a long time, and I know that's not something that you can train someone to be. You've either got it or you don't have it, and she has it. While Meghan, unprepared for the prearranged appointment with her visitor, was dressed in a toweling bathrobe with her hair tied back, without displaying any compunction for what could have been interpreted as discourteous display of disrespect, Meghan advanced effusively, and we hugged as if we'd known each other for ages. She was delightful, warm, personable, and hugely charismatic. So, Crown Kruger Talent Management Company represented 300 top names. Cher, Sir Richard Branson, Elle Macpherson, just to name a few. Their specialty was drumming up corporate bookings, public speaking, and appearances for their clients while negotiating literary publications and brand endorsement deals in areas as disparate as sports design, fashion, media, and broadcasting. Nelthorpe Crown became her commercial agent, helping her obtain endorsements and sponsorship deals with leading brands. In June 2016, Meghan flew to London for a PR junket, which allowed her to watch her friend Serena play at Wilmington. She struck up with one of those immediate friendships, which are a talent of hers, with Violet von Westenholz. Now, this well-connected director of public relations at Ralph Lauren. Violet was a childhood friend of Prince Harry's. Her father, Piers Baron von Westenholz, being a former Olympic skier, is one of Prince Charles' oldest and closest friends. As a result, Violet and her siblings, Frederick and Victoria, grew up with Prince William and Harry. The families have remained close, and Violet knows how desperate Harry was to meet someone. A royal told me she set him up on a blind date with Meghan Markle. The rest is history. So, it was this family friend who actually set up the blind date. Now, it says, by the time that the public found out about the relationship, the word in aristocratic circles was that the royal family was tearing its hair out as a result of the background checks having provided very mixed feedback about Meghan, with some people praising her and many others suggesting that Meghan Markle was known in Hollywood and Toronto as an operator par excellence. It was like introducing Typhoid Mary to New York, but Meghan had one redeeming feature. Her biracial identity was the answer for the royal family's prayers. When she wanted to set us up, I had one question, Meghan said. Is he nice? Because if he wasn't kind, then it wouldn't seem like it would make sense. Meghan was displaying just the right degree to Violet of reluctance, and it reassured Violet that she was truly the lovely, sweet, personable, and loving young woman that she appeared to be. She continued to be seen like this until she and Harry were just about to get married. Whoa, so, she had all these people fooled. Okay, the first to fall through the cracks was Piers Morgan, who Meghan had cultivated on earlier visits in London. They had a last drink before she left for her first meeting with Prince Harry, and as Piers said, thereafter she ghosted him. Piers Morgan is an honorable man for all of his rhetoric and controversialism. He would never have betrayed her confidence had she told him that she was going to see Harry. Another of the friends Meghan had made in the last couple of years as she jetted back and forth was Nelthorpe Crown. Raised her profile and added her bank account was the former WAG model, television presenter, and socialite Lizzie Cundy. They had become friendly enough for Meghan to confide that Meghan wanted to leave Suits, move to London, join the upper class cast of the reality show Made in Chelsea, and marry a Brit. Before long, she was imploring Lizzie to find her a rich and famous Englishman. Lizzie suggested introducing her to a multimillionaire football player, Ashley Cole, but Meghan declined the offer once she realized who he was. Now, get this. Lizzie thought it might be because both their marital past had been checkered, but one of Meghan's critics suggested that it was because Meghan's taste doesn't run to men of color. She only liked to date white guys. She'd never dated a black guy. To Meghan, that would have been a put down to her, suggesting that. So she met with Harry shortly afterwards, and then there was no need for any further fixing up. When Lizzie heard the news, she texted Meghan saying what a catch he was. Meghan replied, "Yeah, I know." And then Meghan ghosted Lizzie Cundy too. The next to be cut out of her life was Nelthorpe Crown. Despite being such close friends that they had confided into each other about their personal lives, had traveled together and formed what the business manager through was a genuine bond. When Meghan informed her after a third date with Harry that they were serious, third date, guys, that they were planning a future together, and that she and Harry had said to each other, "We're going to change the world." Did you get that? We're going to change the world. Nelthorpe Crown tried to warn her of the reality of being a member of the royal family. A week before the news about Meghan and Harry's relationship became public, she wrote an email saying that she was giving up her career and that had to terminate her contract with her. So she got ghosted. Therefore, Meghan ignored Nelthorpe Crown's existence, acting as if they had never had a productive professional relationship or even a close personal friendship, or indeed had ever even met. Totally ghosted. For all her fierce intelligence, Meghan seems not to have realized that cutting people out of her life the way she was doing made them feel that she was using them. Of course it would. And when they had ceased to be of use to her, she had discarded them as if they never existed. One can make a case for the fact that Meghan was being cautious and self-protective, but this is what she did with all of her friends and family members. Although Meghan has tried to present herself as an innocent, she was no ingenue, but a worldly wise woman on the mission of her life, the mission to bag any old prince, but not to bag any old prince, but the prince. Nelthorpe Crown stated that her experience of Meghan was that she is ingenuous and has no compunction about spinning the greatest yarn so that she can hide her calculations behind a veil of non-existent innocence. Meghan not only knew exactly who Harry was, but she had been very excited to meet him, knowing that he would be her ticket to international fame if they clicked. And it also went on to say that she had even Googled him and learned about him, even though she even said in the engagement interview she didn't know anything about him. Oh, she did. Upon meeting Harry and deciding that she liked him, he became the latest in a long line of people to experience her gravitational pull. First date, they met for a drink in early July 2017 at Robin Barley's private club. Okay, they clicked. Harry said, "I've never even heard about her until Violet von Westenholz mentioned her name. He asked that Violet give him a bit of background. I've never watched Suits. I've never heard of Meghan before, and I was beautifully surprised when I walked into the room and saw her there, and she was just sitting. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to have to up my game. When Meghan had said after leaving Trevor that she did not find separation frightening, but she found it empowering, she was actually saying that she would never again be involved with a man who didn't fulfill her demands. Now, this is important. And as when she wanted them to be fulfilled. So she wasn't going to just be with any man. It had to be somebody that was going to meet every one of her demands. You must please Meghan. This was not the only aspect of Meghan's personality which captivated Harry right from the onset. She was open about her need to have a voice, not only with the man in her life, but with everyone else. He was transfixed by how opinionated she was. She also made it clear that she must remain in control. Listen to that. And that she had no time for those who do not want to please her. I think very quickly into that we said, well, what are we going to do tomorrow? To a prince used to it, but hungering to be accepted as a man, it was an extremely attractive quality. It was, ironically, the quality that had won Wallace Simpson, the former King Edward VIII's heart. It had also worked for Richard Burton when he treated Elizabeth Taylor, who was used to being revered as a movie goddess, as just another woman. The following evening, an excited prince, flying high with anticipation as someone who was generally emotional, meet up with supremely confident but very warm and responsive Meghan at Solo House. Her friend Marcus Anderson had arranged a discreet space for them where they could knock back the wine undisturbed. Back-to-back dates in London, Harry said it was 3, maybe 4 weeks later that I managed to persuade her to join me in Botswana, and we camped out with each other under the stars. Says they were together for 5 days out there, which was absolutely fantastic, and they were really by themselves, which was crucial for Harry to be able to make sure that they had a chance to get to know each other. Although Meghan's critics would accuse her of being disingenuous and that she had done her homework and knew much more about him than she claimed, the fact remains that they gelled. If her motives were more mixed than his, it does not alter the fact that they had patently had something special between them. This, they now set out about nurturing, creating a bubble which allowed the relationship to develop with speed. It was after the 3rd date that Meghan told Nelthorpe Crown that she and Harry were so serious about each other that they were already plotting the future, so she no longer needed a contract with them. All right, then on October the 30th, 2016, the Sunday Express blew the love cover. The world would now know Prince Harry had a girlfriend called Meghan Markle. He was actually staying with Meghan in Toronto when the story broke. Who do you think let that slip, guys? We know Meghan. It already says that she's already told some of her friends and co-workers and different people about the relationship. So within hours, she had become a household name for the first time in her life. Meghan had finally arrived where she wanted to be, and the fun had really begun. And that's 45 pages in Chapter 3. I'll read Chapter 4, and I'll be back to report on it. Thank you guys for watching, listening. If you haven't liked the video, please do that now. Please subscribe if you're enjoying these, and we'll see you soon in the next video. Thanks again for watching, guys.